what pretty well goes on is that this is a bolt out of the lower arm or trunnion which clamps onto the Bobcat, and that is your lower swivel. Now that is probably an 8, 10 or 12 grade bolt, and that's what was on there originally. Now these are the bushes I made up. Now if you notice, there's a chamfer on one side, and that is to stop the slight chamfer on there sticking to it. So when that goes in, that'll go like that. So and they all have got chamfers on them. I'll just plonk them all on, well, place them all on here just for the moment so you can see exactly what it is. So, you know, all of these bushes, they're all spot on, they're all exactly the same size. I've put a chamfer on each one, so it doesn't matter which one it is, it'll always be facing the outside. So that'll be where that hex goes on, and that will actually be welded around there onto the onto the arm that's going to be. To try and put or shed more light on what I'm actually doing is on the front of the Bobcat you've got a movable arm which has got a lower and top trunnion. The lower one has got bushes on it, and then the top one has got like just a straight half-inch shaft. A half-inch shaft, for example, would fit across in here, and that would be welded on the inside, and that will sit in like a half moon area, and that'll just, the weight will go onto it, and then so that sits in a half moon. And then the way they lock it on is there's these holes which will be on the bottom end of it, is where these bushes will go in. So that's what these holes are. So actual fact, this is the bottom of it. So what happens is when the shaft on the top end has got the full weight of it, then what we do, we line up the pins, and I've left enough room in here to allow that to be moved up and down with the bottom bolt or the shaft in there. And then once it's tack welded, then, and fully welded of course later on, then that will be one complete arm assembly which will be ready to be fitted on and welded onto the bucket assembly. Because on here you've got an arm which swivels backwards and forwards, so, and that's what the bucket movement is for. Now this one is pretty well ready. On the bottom end down here is where I'll put probably the 25mm high tense, or well 4140 bar or whatever I'm going to use. And then if you have a look, that I've already center popped that one. Then I'm going to cut that one out, one there, there'll be one on from the other side on here, and so it'll look like this one here. So that's basically what we're going to do. But these are the bushes, so that's just virtually the first part of the assembly. So that what's going to happen is, once this is like these are finished now, so I've already got these two done, I have to do these two now, and then make up a bar assembly which will go on the other side. And then that will be actually loose fitted inside, so I can move it up and down, and I'll take it out on the Bobcat later on, but that'll be in another section. Yeah, I've just finished welding these bushes on. That's one on that side, one on that side. Now that is the lower end of the arm. Now what happens is, this is the bolt that goes through, and it all it actually fits in there, so it comes out the other end. So that's pretty well lined up. Now I still have to make the other one like that. Then when that's finished, what's going to happen is I've got a sliding plate that goes in there, and there'll be like another piece that'll be on the inside of that. So that will be the main half moon pivot on the top, and that will be on the bottom. So in actual fact, there we go, that will be standing upright like that. So the bolt will be in the bottom, and the half moon support will be in the top. So then that will be modified and welded back onto the new bucket assembly. At the moment, this is the second one I've made, making. I've already bored out the hole down the bottom there, and I've got rubber gloves on. Yes, not supposed to, but I'm spraying a lot of stuff everywhere, and it's, you know what DW40 is like when it gets all through your hands and everything. But anyway, that one I'd still have to take out probably about another 1.5 to 2 mil, and then I'll just recess the two bushes so they just sit probably about 1.5 mil into the recess there, which will line up the bolt, put the bolts through, and then I'll weld it up like I did on the previous one. Now what I've done here is, like I said, I've got the one bush here, one bush there. That bolt is, this bolt here goes right through. They're still lined up. And what I've used is actually, I've got a valve spring compressor which I use when I overhaul truck heads, you know, pulling out the valve springs off the truck. So that's a fairly heavy duty. Because I've got pre-tensioned, that holds the bushing flush on there and flush on that side. So then I'll tack weld it, take the valve spring compressor off, and then I'll just fully weld it, and I'm ready to make the bottom piece. Alright, we've got both bushes welded in now. That's well, I've got a reasonably heavy weld on these, so you can see where the tape is going to be so the bolt doesn't jam up on it. That's just inside the hole. That is your bottom bush down there. I'm not going to turn it over, it's pretty hot at the moment. And yeah, we'll just have to carry on. It's just getting there slowly, but it is getting there. Alright, this is where we're cutting up 4 plates, which as you can see, there's 3 there, and I'm using the other one as a support for the moment, but you see where the lines are. So I'm going to actually cut those back, and then when they're ready, then I'll place them inside the C channel, get some 1-inch high tensile material, and then I'll just tack weld it in, and then we'll start getting ready for the positioning of the actual arm. Right, what we've got here is we've got 4 plates already cut out. These are the ones going to go inside the C channel, but because you're never ever going to cut them exactly, you know, parallel and square and everything to each other, unless it's off one bar, of course. Well, I cut this out of just a piece of plate, and 3x1, and a piece from the other side. So what I'm going to do is just cut all this one side back so it's all completely level, which will be coming off its, well, it's sitting flat inside the vise, so that'll be flat. Then I'll use this edge as my leading edge on the outside and measure that from where the actual bar, the top pivot bar will go. Okay, so what's happening now is as you can see, we've done that. That's fairly clean now. We just pull it all out, deburr it, and then we're virtually ready to. I'm just going to make a couple of 1/2 inch or 5/8 holes in here, and then I'll get the pin to go in with a step. Then when I'll just squeeze it in, and then when I'm ready, I'll actually turn around and I'll weld it all back in. Alright, we've got our 4 plates here. These are virtually the plates like that. I've got the leading edge towards us, or facing the camera. Now if you notice, there's a dot on the plates, as in I've got 3 plates which are in front. You've got 3 dots. Then there's a plate here with a dot, and what will happen is that will make sure that I've got it facing the same way on each one. So when I go to put the actual pivot bolt, or whatever you want to call it, it'll always be in the same area. You won't have one plate out from another. So as I said, I'm going to drill all the plates with a 1/2 inch hole, and what that will ensure is that I've got everything will be lined up every time, so there won't be any problems with it. That seems a bit wonky, doesn't it? Whoops, that happens when you try and get greedy. One. And we'll put the other one in, and because I've got the stop here, that'll all fit, always go back in exactly where it came out from. Right, this is just to show you, like I've got the 4 plates. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then that's the 2 pins I've made, one there, one here. Now they're only just sitting there just to roughly show you how it's going to be, but when they go in here, they'll actually sit vertically. I'll line them up, then I'll tack weld in each point, and then I'll fully weld them after that. And then it's a matter of putting it onto the Bobcat, or measuring the distance from the bottom points down there up to whatever height that might only sit about here. I have to measure it out properly, but I'll just tack that and I'll put on the Bobcat, make sure it's okay, and then we'll just have to see how it goes from there. And we might have to readjust the height up or down slightly. Right, we've made a fair bit of progress here. As you know, we've already bolted, we've got that welded on. The bolts moves in and out quite well. Well, there it goes. Now what we've also done is we put that part onto the Bobcat, well, on the Bobcat first, and we measured out how far between that distance and here, and that's all fully welded right around, and that actually fits on the Bobcat now. So the only thing I've found is that because you've got like a roundy corner here, I've had to grind the corner out from there right across to there, as well as on the inside on here as well, right through. That's because, you know, the edges of the Bobcat were actually catching, so it wouldn't go right down. But that's all done. I've had to take probably a quarter of a mil, or probably 30 thou, 40 thou off each side, just to clean up so it would go straight in. So now what we're doing is that this virtually sits right up, straight up and down like so. Now the height between the lower pivot, which is, or sorry, the upper pivot from there to there, I'm not sure exactly where we're going to, might cut it off here, might be a bit further, I'm not sure yet, until we actually put up against the bucket there. Right, as you can see, we've got the arm here, and as you saw earlier, that's all fully welded and everything. Now that is the swivel arm that it has to go onto. So what happens is, if that part there goes onto in there like so, and then when that sort of clips on, then what happens is the actual bolt will fit straight in there like so. As you can see, it will fit on. Now that is, as you can see, there's no movement on there. I can sort of try and push it back and forwards. Now that will actually be clipped back onto this particular bucket here. As you can see, we're doing earthworks here, trying to clean the place up. But anyway, now that particular arm will be welded in this section here somewhere, and there's an angle and everything, so that all that has to be ground back, same as the other side over there. Once that's done, that'll be cleaned up, welded, and then plated. So that's basically what's going to happen. As far as the Bobcat goes here, I've been doing a lot of work on it. Like I said previously, it still has to be painted and everything, but yeah, slowly we're getting there.